Once the Super Bowl rolls around, the game and all fall into a fishbowl with the whole world watching.
Super Bowl, what was going on?
Oh, it was hell. I was in a manic episode for weeks at a time. I was in a very bad state of mind.
Over the decades, we've seen a number of scandals arise, so let's take a look back at 10 of these controversies that Roger Goodell wishes could just go away. Barrett Robbins disappears. The then Oakland Raiders were all the rage heading into Super Bowl 37, so much so that the pressure boiled over and the pre-game anxiety got the best of one of the Raiders' most important but vulnerable players, offensive lineman Barrett Robbins. Robbins was not a flashy player, but he was the team's starting center and played the position at the Pro Bowl level, which is no small task. But what many didn't know about Robbins at the time was that he suffered from intense mental health issues, namely severe depression and bipolar disorder. In the days before the big game, mania struck, and Robbins vanished and allegedly went on an alcohol-soaked bender in Tijuana, causing him to miss the game entirely.
What about the change at center? What's going to happen with True replacing Robbins here?
You know, Adam True's not a stiff.
Oakland ended up losing in embarrassing fashion, and the NFL wanted the story to just disappear. Unfortunately, things have not gotten much better for Robbins in the time since, as he has been in and out of prison since his retirement. Just another aspect of the story that the NFL is tired of hearing about, as often comes with questions around the resources that they've provided for the league's veterans after their playing days are a wrap. The Janet Jackson Super Bowl halftime show. Long before the days of social media, Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake went viral for their performance at the 2004 Super Bowl halftime, often referred to colloquially as Nipplegate. While it is a bit of a silly nickname, the incident was really no laughing matter, as it created an inequitable media firestorm around the two singers, as it essentially became a watershed moment in live television history, sparking debates on decency, censorship, and cruel dynamics of blame and shame in celebrity culture. Man, who would have thought that the NFL wouldn't want to talk about all that fun stuff? Jackson absorbed the brunt of the criticism and ended up facing significant professional repercussions, while Timberlake's career suffered comparatively less, dredging up further conversations about societal norms and the gendered double standards in the entertainment industry, none of which the NFL wants associated with its brand or its product. The Ravens 49ers Power Outage. February 3rd, 2013. The Mercedes-Benz Superdome in New Orleans, Super Bowl 47. This right here was one of the most highly anticipated Super Bowls in recent history, because it was more than just a clash between the Baltimore Ravens and the San Francisco 49ers, but also the Harbaugh brothers, who were head coaching on opposite sidelines. The Ravens were leading big early and had all of the momentum. Everything was just going their way until the power in the stadium mysteriously and shockingly went out. The cause, as it turned out, was a faulty electrical relay device designed to prevent a power failure. But still, conspiracy theories rattled around the internet like a wildfire. Had someone sabotaged the electricity to buy San Francisco some time to regroup? Well, if they did, then hey, their plan worked extremely well. Nearly to perfection, in fact, as Colin Kaepernick and the 49ers came roaring all the way back. Alas, their comeback efforts came up short. But the questions after the big game still remained. What really happened to the power in that stadium?
Oh, Roger Goodell, he never stopped. He never always got something up his sleeve. Just couldn't let us just had this one in the landslide, huh?
So you thought Roger Goodell had turned the lights out?
Most definitely.
The NFL has to be happy that the Ravens ultimately hung on, because if San Fran had secured the victory after that, well, the intensity of questioning about the incident would have spiked considerably. MIA gives the bird. Heading into the 2012 Super Bowl, there was a lot of excitement around Madonna's halftime show at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indy. It was, however, MIA, a lesser-known British rapper, that ended up stealing the show by flipping the camera the bird during the performance, and unknowingly sparking a relentless backlash and ceaseless discussion about censorship, artistic freedom, and a bevy of other social issues that the NFL just hates to talk about. While a lot of the controversy has subsided at this point, you gotta think that it still grinds the league's gears to see this incident get brought up again nearly every year once the Super Bowl halftime show performers are announced. Eugene Robinson arrest. In the late 1990s, Eugene Robinson was known for not just being one of the top safeties in the league, but also one of the top men in the league. Something that the NFL loves to tout proudly and bizarrely take credit for. Anyways, heading into the big game, Robinson had just been celebrated for receiving the Bart Starr Award for High Moral Character. The only problem? Well, you see, the NFL star was caught in an undercover police operation during Super Bowl week and arrested for soliciting an undercover officer. Yeah, this incident sent shockwaves throughout the sports world, casting a shadow over his recent accolade and raising questions about how seriously the NFL really took character and integrity, especially considering that the Falcons, and by proxy the NFL, allowed the embattled safety to take to the field the next day to play in the Super Bowl despite the charges. Comcast gets hacked. The NFL tries its best to propagate a family-friendly viewing experience through a number of means. But all those efforts were for naught during Super Bowl 43, when the viewers at home watching the big game got a shocking surprise when they're expecting to see a replay of a touchdown. Instead of said replay, they got somewhere between 10 and 30 seconds of uninterrupted pornographic imagery blasted out to the entire nation. Comcast later explained that this interruption was the result of an isolated malicious act, indicating that someone deliberately tampered with the broadcast to insert this content and create a massive scandal. A scandal that Comcast and the NFL were left to clean up. Officiating in Super Bowl 40. Super Bowl 40 was supposed to be a marketable celebration of NFL history, but instead it became the center of widespread controversy, not for the plays on the field, but because of the decisions made by the officials. You see, this game was just marred by several contentious calls that left players, coaches, and fans questioning the fairness and integrity of the officiating. Particularly because the Pittsburgh Steelers, one of the league's most influential franchises, seemed to continually be the beneficiary. In the aftermath, the NFL faced significant scrutiny from media, fans, and even players. Everyone was dissecting the calls, with some arguing that the officiating had a clear impact on the outcome of the game in Pittsburgh's favor. This is the absolute last thing that the NFL wants to have happen. Goodell must have been fuming to have the integrity of the league's biggest game be brought into question. Stanley Wilson Rehab. The NFL has had a real issue over the years navigating complex social issues like mental health and drug addiction. Granted, these are highly challenging topics to tackle, but there's no denying that it's been a bit of a pain point for the league. One that reared its ugly head on the eve of Super Bowl 23 between the Cincinnati Bengals and the San Francisco 49ers. Bengals running back Stanley Wilson, who it is worth noting had previously been suspended for the better part of 3 seasons, had a tragic relapse just before the big game. While not the lead back, Wilson had carved out a nice role in the Bengals offense during that season and was expected to be a part of the game plan on Super Bowl Sunday. The team, however, noticed that something was up when Wilson missed the final pre-game meeting. They went up to check for him in his room and found him utterly strung out in his bathtub. Wilson expectedly missed the big game, which Cincy lost by a narrow margin, 20-16, leaving fans to wonder if they had him, or at a minimum, not had the massive distraction, if the Bengals maybe would have been able to emerge victorious.
I believe in my heart, if we'd have had him in that ball game, we'd have won that ball game going away. It wouldn't have been a close game.
Brett Favre on Bourbon Street. In the lead up to Super Bowl 31, held in New Orleans in 1997, Brett Favre, the Green Bay Packers' star quarterback, made headlines in a big way. He was regularly spotted on Bourbon Street partying in the days before the big game. The gunslinger was apparently going so hard that he was dry heaving in the locker room before kickoff on game day. Fortunately for the NFL and number 4, one of the league's most marketable players, all that partying didn't have too much of an impact on his performance, as he was still able to lead his team to a victory over the New England Patriots and secure the Super Bowl MVP honors in the process. Adrian Owasum's arrest. Super Bowl 45 was supposed to be one of the most celebrated showdowns of its time. This massive marketing opportunity, however, was in part derailed by Adrian Owasum, a player for the New York Giants who was arrested following the Super Bowl, as much of the national discussion became about player conduct and the league's approach to dealing with it, rather than the legendary matchup that was on the field. But which do you think is the biggest or craziest Super Bowl controversy that the NFL hates to talk about even to this day? Let us know in the comments section below. If you liked this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps out a ton. And hey, we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, subscribing is a great idea, because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.